Good morning and welcome to SimWorld. Today it was an active day in the hoops world last night with the changing and the ever fluctuations of the SEC in the Mountain West and a big night in Miami. We're talking about all of it. I am Marsh, joined by Sniper Jay. Good morning, Sniper. Very active night. How are you doing this morning, though?
I'm doing good. I haven't went to sleep, Marsh, so I'm doing great.
I mean, I feel like I'm right there with you. So big night. We're gonna talk the return, which of Jimmy Butler to Miami, which I was actually at last night, and it was fascinating.
Mhm.
But I want to start with the SEC. We're going to talk a little bit of Mountain West action here on SimWorld today. Let's start with the SEC, where the race for the top tightened up quite a bit. A loss by Alabama and a win by the Kentucky Wildcats has made the SEC race tighter than it already was. Kentucky moves up to number one by half a game alongside Alabama. This is an interesting finale that we're going to get there with Arkansas kind of hanging in the background. What were your takeaways, though, last night from a night that saw Alabama fall and Kentucky win?
No, my key takeaway was I think the conference race has turned into a three-team race. I think Arkansas is very much alive. As far as Kentucky's hot right now, so you have to give them credit. They're winning ball games. They're putting themselves in position to be in that title game. But Bama, on the other hand, with that loss, makes things real interesting in the SEC. And the reason I say it is because I looked at Arkansas' schedule, and I think they have the ability to control their own destiny here. They only have two tough games left in Mississippi State and Alabama. So if they beat Alabama, they're in. And that game is going to be circled on everybody's calendar, I'm sure. But I think Arkansas is a real sleeper team. And they're just sitting in the background, like you said, and they could push their way up to that second place and be in the conference game and really knock Alabama out once they play them.
So, just looking at the schedule behind them, you mentioned Arkansas 5-3, Florida, Auburn, Mississippi State, South Carolina, all with 4 losses. Mathematically, it's pretty tough to get there for all 4 of those teams to try to leap not only one another but also Arkansas. So, we think this is a 3-team race. Do you have a sense between the 3 of them who the 2 is that you would say these are the 2 that emerge and play in the SEC championship game?
Yeah, I'm going with Kentucky, Arkansas. And the reason I say that, I think Arkansas has the ability to beat Mississippi State. Mississippi State been on a teeter-totter as of late, or a seesaw. You never know what you're going to get. You never really knew what you were going to get. They were just good enough to be around, and now that they made it to this moment. And I think they're going to pull out an upset when they play Bama. I'm not sure what the game is, but I got full faith in the Arkansas Razorbacks that they're going to go in with their clear minds, hearts full, energy on 10, and they're going to upset Alabama to get in the SEC championship game.
All right. Well, I'm taking Kentucky, Alabama, mostly because you talk about Mississippi State being inconsistent. Arkansas has been pretty damn inconsistent this season. They haven't really stepped up to the plate when they've needed to. I think there's a very real chance they lose to Mississippi State, a squad that is who's kind of faded a little bit in recent conversation as the viewpoint has focused in on the top teams. That win, I think, was huge for Mississippi State, not in the SEC, but just to get a win against Alabama to say we can beat these top teams. We can reinstill the confidence that we had when we were at one point this season a top 10 squad, a top 5 squad. This was a Mississippi State squad that I think might have had at least a brief moment where they were number 1 in the country. If not, they were battling in that conversation. I think I'm most curious is Kentucky. If they have the head-to-head, it's on April 6th against Alabama. Alabama won the first one. I'm wondering if Kentucky gets that win, the number 1 seed in college in hoops area is back on the table. I think Sniper Jay. If Kentucky wins that game, they have a very real case to be made to say we should be a 1 seed, and one of Duke, Texas, Alabama, Villanova gets bumped to a number 2 seed.
Absolutely. I would have to agree with you there. I think they bump Alabama out of that 1 seed because they have the momentum going down the stretch. They won 5 games in a row, something like that. I can't call it out right now. But when you beat a team right in front of the committee's eyes, right before they make a decision, that kind of bumps you ahead of them in a sense because it's like right there, right now type of thing. And I think if Kentucky is able to pull off that win, that's what's going to happen.
The 21-3 mark right now for Alabama, 20-4. So that would draw them, assuming Alabama doesn't lose any other games, would draw them even in the wins-loss column overall as well, beyond dominating and owning the SEC. And then, of course, the SEC championship game, which would be likely potentially between the two of them, depending on the Arkansas-Alabama matchup as well. All right, let's head to the Mountain West. Not a conference that typically gets a lot of eyeballs on it, but it's been a fascinating one this season, and it got a heck of a lot more fascinating last night. UNLV loses in a game that maybe isn't too surprising. St. Mary's at one point a top 25 team. They lose at home to St. Mary's 79-70. And then San Diego State takes down New Mexico in a blowout fashion, 80-61. And Gonzaga loses as well. So we have three teams tied at 6-4. UNLV sitting there at 7-3 in the conference, still temporarily in the conference lead. What are your takeaways from a conference that's been really, really interesting to watch?
You know, I don't think UNLV is going to even be in this championship game. And then,
hot take.
Yeah, I exactly. I don't think they're ready for it. You know, I know they're sitting at the top of the conference now, but just looking at their schedule, there's 4 games left, and I'm gonna read them off to you. It's Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Gonzaga. Now, this Boise State and Colorado State team both are looking to get some wins under their belt to really boost their resume. And some say they might be a bubble team, some say they might not. All I know is they're working to get into Hoopsteria, and that means something to them. So this game against UNLV is going to mean a lot to them. They're going to bring everything they got to this UNLV team. And as we know, everybody in this conference is suspect to loss to anybody else in the conference. In their last 2 games, I just want to touch on it. I'm sorry, Marsh. I know you want to go because I know you know. But I got to get this out. San Diego State, I don't think UNLV can beat them. I just don't. Gonzaga, I think Gonzaga's going to make a tie and turn whatever they got going on with this last loss and turn it into a win against this UNLV team. I honestly see them losing 3 out of these last 4 games, and that's going to put them right out of the championship game.
I mean, if they lose 3 of the last 4, they're currently overall 14-13. So they would end up at 15-16 at that point overall. That changes UNLV if that were to be the case from being a 9 seed to being like a 13 seed. Because even if they win the Mountain West, it's not like they're guaranteed to become a top 5 seed in Hoopsteria. UNLV, just by saying it's a hot take, I don't know that I'm not discrediting the take. I think it's a fantastic one because mathematically it's hard to believe that they would fall considering how well they've played. But this has not been a good basketball team all season long. I mean, they were 7-10 in non-conference play. They were not necessarily blowing the doors off of teams. And the schedule remaining indicates that this team is kind of they took advantage of the Nevada game. They've already beat Colorado State. Like, they've taken advantage of a schedule that's favored them. And oh, by the way, Boise State, beyond just playing like you mentioned, Hoopsteria, this is a team that's mathematically got an outside shot. They're 5-5. They're technically only 1 game back of Gonzaga, San Diego State, St. Mary's for the number 2 seed. Now, do you get there? It's a heck of a lot. In an 8-team conference, it's very difficult to make the math work on it. But Boise State has an outside chance at potentially even getting into the conference championship game, let alone getting into Hoopsteria. And if that's the case, suddenly you've got a very real case to be made of why you're, as a bubble team, should be in. And this, of course, if they get the number 1 spot in the regular season, which would be almost impossible to get. But if they got there, they would be staring at an automatic bid into a guaranteed automatic bid by winning the regular season. I like that take. Sniper, I like that take. The UNLV misses because they've been struggling. They've lost 2 in a row. So this great 8-1 or 7-1 stretch that they had is suddenly in the rearview mirror. And you've got teams surging. St. Mary's has won 4 in a row. San Diego State's been up and down, yes, but I don't think that the Mountain West it might not be a glorious conference. It might not be a conference that people sign up for to try to get updates on every night. But I'll tell you what, it is going to be a fascinating close to the season because realistically, mathematically, 6 of the 8 teams are still alive in the Mountain West, meaning every single time they go out and play, the schedule, the standings are going to get rearranged. All right, let's go to SWBA, where the big note of news last night was Jimmy Butler returning to Miami. Was in the building for it, and it was a interesting environment. Per the norms of Miami, no one shows up on time. The Warriors never showed up in general, Jimmy Butler included. The lack of energy, Sniper, that he had was embarrassing. I mean, yeah, the boo birds were raining down every single time he touched it. I think TV made it sound a heck of a lot louder than it actually was. But the Warriors lacked any form of energy, any form of I can't think of the word, but like desperation. I'm curious, Sniper, in your opinion, if one on the return itself, but two that environment of returning, how challenging is that to get your energy up as the returning player?
I would say it would be pretty easy to get your energy up. You would really want to embarrass the team that sent you away or that you want to be sent away from. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Steph Curry didn't play though, right? And I think he is that energy that they always can rely on to start the game, maybe to get the energy going during the game. But if you're Jimmy Butler, I mean, I totally credit him for not having the energy. I don't know what was on his mind. Maybe he was dealing with some other issues outside of the court, but I don't understand why he didn't bring the energy to show Pat Riley and the Miami Heat, because that's obviously what it is. It's management, it's the players. They all got into this big ordeal that I have no idea what happened. I'm just talking about it. But why would you want to prove to them that you are that marquee guy, that you deserve the money that they paid you, and that you should get what you want when you ask for it, and they didn't give it to you? It doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense. It was there was, I mean, as a fan, it was frustrating to watch it, and then you just kind of are resigned to your fate. You give credit to Miami. They shot 60, I think I had about 68% from deep. I mean, they hit everything from deep. Tyler Hero hit multiple, including back-to-back, or they hit back-to-back, and Hero had a buzzer beater at the half, which pushed it to 17 at halftime, and that's kind of what did them in. But the offense without Steph Curry, you talk about it, this team is just, they don't have plan B. When you don't have Steph Curry and you don't have great shooters, I mean, Buddy Hield is a good shooter statistically, but he's exceptionally inconsistent. They did not shoot the ball. I think the stat was 0 of 14 from 3 to start this game until they hit one. I think it was midway through the third quarter in terms of starters last night. It was just Jimmy Butler didn't bring the energy, and he didn't bring the energy in an environment that you expect him to, because this is the same guy that took down the number 1 Milwaukee Bucks as an 8 seed. It's the same guy that dragged the Heat to the finals in 2020 in the bubble season. And I understand those are a couple years removed, but this version of Jimmy Butler, this lack of assertiveness was concerning last night. He would get into the post, he would back it down, and then he'd try to jump into the paint, and then he'd pass it away. And the number of the shots that the Warriors turned down at the rim with Bam Adebayo there, Buddy Hield did it, Podziemski did it. It was just a team that lacked any sort of motivation and appeared in an environment where you should be, especially if you're Jimmy Butler, extremely motivated to come back into and make a statement. This team has 2 off days before and after this game, so they were off for 2 days. They're off for 2 more. It looked like they were thinking this was one of those 4 off days because they did not play well at all in this one. A pretty disappointing outcome that I think I'm still too sleep deprived to really be able to put together too many more words on it itself. All right, that's our show, Sniper. I appreciate you joining us here on Wednesday to talk through all that is college basketball. Any closing shots from you? What are you looking for here as we round out, and by the time we see you next Wednesday, what's on the horizon that interests you?
I'm just interested to see how all the conferences play out this week, and I'm interested to see who's going to really stake their claim into that championship game, because we have some conferences that could really, some leaders in the conferences that could really go ahead and put their stamp and put their name into the championship game this upcoming week. So I'm looking forward to see who's going to be able to do that.
All right. Well, there's plenty of activity to close. There's plenty of activity tonight, including our game of the week. That's Virginia Tech and Louisville. Chance for a share of the number 1 seed in the ACC at hand between the Hokies and the Cardinals. That starts at 7 p.m. on SimWorld TV. And then Memphis SMU, Big American Tilt closes out the night at 8:30 p.m. tonight. All of that on SimWorld TV. And of course, the Stars of Tomorrow showcase rolling this Saturday at 1 p.m. on SimWorld TV. We just got a champion in SimWorld Prep. Now we'll look at all the stars in one place Saturday, 1 p.m. Sniper, appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you again next Wednesday, breaking down all the updates that happen across college basketball. We'll be back on tomorrow, the triumphant return of Rick Blaze to the table as we talk all things college and professional hoops. Appreciate you all tuning in here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.